Hi guys, well, welcome to another episode of the Mainly Moonology podcast. This week we have some overall pretty positive energies, but what is quite challenging is at the very end of the week we're getting Mars squaring Saturn. So beginning of the week, November 20, we've got the Sun harmonizing with Pluto, then the next day we're getting Mercury harmonizing with Chiron. So, November 2021, really nice energies, quite good for healing. If you need to kiss and make up with someone, really good time to do it. November 22, action packed. We have Mars aligning with Pluto, the Sun moving into the sign of Sagittarius, and Venus harmonizing, or actually opposing Chiron. But again, it's kind of a healing energy. Pluto is being triggered this week. It's the healing crisis. Chiron is being triggered this week. It's all about healing. So overall, the first part of the week is actually looking quite positive. But as we get towards the end of the week, November 23rd, for example, which is Thursday, the 25th, which is Saturday, we do get into this Mars-Saturn clash. What does that mean? Well, first of all, I just want to orient you. We are in the waxing cycle. We are headed for the full moon next week. So the energies are growing, and Mars and Saturn are pretty intense planets, and when they clash it can be quite challenging. And what I wanted to kind of explain was in the context of manifesting, in the context of living your best life, in the context of feeling as grounded as you can, as secure and centered as you can. How does all this play out? Because here's the thing, these planets clashing are likely to bring up upsets, resentments, anger, obstacles that you have to get around, people feeling a bit restricted or frustrated, all that. Planetary alignment like this can lead to heightened feelings of stress and even overwhelm or, really big frustration, which is then going to challenge your emotional balance. Now, what's wrong with that? I mean, we all have to go through cycles, right? Yes. But if you're on the spiritual path and you're trying to stay centered, and especially if you're into manifesting and you're like, no, I really want to stay in a positive mindset. I want to deal with all the SHIT as it comes up. I want to process my feelings as we head towards the full moon. Then you just need to be mindful of this, okay? So Mars is very much the planet of action and likes to move forward as fast as it possibly can. And Saturn is the planet of concrete. It's the brick wall. So what you've got here in a way is the firepower of Mars crashing into the brick wall of Saturn. So it may well be that whatever it is you're really trying to rush ahead with this week is not going to be that easy for you to manifest. Because, astrology, remember, functions on the idea as above, so below. So when the planets are clashing up there, it can be more challenging. So really, this all becomes a very good opportunity to think about, for example, how to manage stress in your life. I did once read a very funny quote by the US astrologer Michael Luton, when Mars was clashing with Saturn, as Mars is clashing with Saturn this week. And it was, if you're banging your head against a brick wall, not stop, which is the usual one. If you're banging your head against a brick wall, stop. This one was, if you're banging your head against a brick wall, buy a helmet. And it's a bit like that this week. If you're banging your head against a brick wall, buy a helmet, or just think about your stress. And if your stress levels are really going up because maybe you're dealing with someone who's really difficult, or you're going through a really difficult time, or you're dealing with a difficult situation, just be aware that there is tension in the air and you're going to have to work just that little bit harder to manage your stress. And one of the really good things to do this week, actually, in terms of managing stress, is to think about time management as well, okay? Because Mars is always in a rush. Saturn is actually the planet of time. So if you can manage your time better this week. You will be kind of helping Saturn, which will, in theory, should alleviate some of the dramas. The other thing that always comes to mind with Saturn is grounding, because Saturn is very much the planet of being down to earth. So if you're like here in the northern hemisphere, it's a bit cold to go walking barefoot on the earth, although I have been known to walk barefoot on the earth in all kinds of weathers. But if you don't want to do that, if you can get yourself a grounding blanket, that's amazing. Or at least just get outside in nature a bit when it's not, hailing or snowing or something, and just connect with nature. That is going to help as well. Because really the idea at the moment is to stay in a high vibration, even though this is quite a difficult aspect, Mars clashing with Saturn. Things you could do, practices you could do would include, say, meditation. Also, if you want to, you could try an affirmation. An affirmation could be something along the lines of, I am safe and all is well. So even if things are going a bit crazy around you, that's a Louise Hay affirmation. I am safe and all is well, or I am where I am and it's okay. Actually, one of my personal favorites. The thing is as well, Mars's energy, even when it's in conflict with Saturn, can be channeled into constructive action, which is aiming to find a way around the obstacle. Okay, so again, look at problem solving this week. Okay, so I've got this brick wall in front of me. What am I going to do about it? I can go around the side, hopefully, or maybe I can go over it. But try and think of problem solving this week. Think of it like, as you go into this week, if I'm going to come up against problems, I'm not going to keep banging my head against a brick wall, or I'm not going to buy a helmet. I'm actually going to try and problem solve. And the other thing as well is, think about Saturn, because Saturn is being challenging here, but Saturn's about discipline and structure. So just as I've said, time management will help, finding a solution will help, also being disciplined and structured in your life this week. Where do you need to be more disciplined? Where do you need to be more structured in your life? Tapping into that will help you work through the energy of this Mars-Saturn clash, which in turn is going to help to get you in a better state of mind. And as we know, when you're in a better state of mind, you are going to be a more powerful manifester. Have a beautiful week, and I will speak to you next week. Lots of love.